Hey everybody, Hatcher here with G.N.R.T. Gaming News, Reviews, and Tips, and today I wanted to do just a short little intro video on the Maverick missile system. Now the Maverick is a fantastic missile, and it's good for close air support, so taking out things like APCs, tanks, small units like that. And it comes in two different formats. It comes in a laser-guided format, and it also comes in infrared. For this video, I'm going to focus on the laser-guided. And so in this case, we're going to laser designate a target and then have the missile home in on that target. So let's get our loadout ready here. We can carry 4 Mavericks, and in this case, we're going to use the laser guided, which are the AGM-65E. So we'll load up with 4 of those AGM-65Es. And again, those can be loaded onto slots 2, 3, 7, and 8. Now in order to laser designate these ourselves, we also need the lightning pod, so we'll go ahead and we'll grab that as well. Alright, so now that we're in the air, we need to get our weapon systems up and running, and as I've mentioned in other videos, the weapon systems are integrated with other components, so in this case, since we're going to be using a laser-guided missile, it's going to be incorporated or tied in with our flare system so that we can designate a target. So let's get started here. We need to set our master switch to ARM, and we're in air-to-ground mode. We can see we have our Maverick missile system here on our stores page. If we push it once, we have our missiles here. If we push it a second time, we enter into our Maverick missile targeting page. Let's get back over here onto the stores page first. First thing we need to do is we're going to need to set the code on our missiles. You can see right now they're set at 1111. We need that code to match our laser designated target or our laser designating system, the FLIR. So in this case, I know that it's 1688, so I'm just going to hit the UFC button and code 1688, enter. And now we can see that our codes for our missiles are now set at 1688. So that will match our FLIR when we take a look at it. Down over here, we need to enable our FLIR, so we turn it on. And then that will allow us to select it here from the tack screen. Now, the other thing that we're going to need to make sure that is active is the LTDR. So we're going to switch that to ARM, and that will allow us to get our trigger up here, and we need to be able to manipulate the trigger so that we can turn the arming into the tracking mode. So we'll be able to change laser arm to laser track or LTDR. And so in order to do that with the trigger, we box trigger. Okay, and you can see that we have our UFC code set to 1688 for the laser, which matches 1688 on our missiles. So now let's go out and find ourselves some targets. One thing before we do that, we're going to be switching back and forth between the 2 DDRs in this case. So you're going to need to be able to use your sensor select switch. In this case, I'm going to start with putting it on the right sensor select, or the right DDI. That'll allow me to slew the cursor around and find a target. And then when I find my target, I'll use my TDC depress to mark that target. And then I will use the trigger in order to change the laser from arm to tracking. So now let's go out and find ourselves some targets. Okay, so we can see here that we've identified some targets, and I'm going to zoom in even more by pushing the wide narrow. And now I've got this one set here, so now I'll go ahead and TDC depress. Now we've set him as our target. Okay, good. Now I need to arm the laser, so I'm using my trigger. And you can see we've gone to LDTR. And now I will switch over to the left DDR. And you can see we're scanning. We've gotten uncaged. Just need to turn over here. My Maverick is locked. Because you can see we've got the lock thing, or the locked symbology in the HUD. So I'm just going to press my weapons release. And as soon as I press my weapons release, we've got the missile away. Boom. Target destroyed. So essentially what's important here is you have to be able to switch back and forth using your sensor select switches from the right DDI to the left DDI so that you can control the Maverick, cage and uncage it as necessary. and then using your C button to cage and uncage if you need to search for that actual locked target. So a couple of the important things that have held me back a couple of times is making sure that my laser switches from ARM to LTDR, so making sure the switch on the panel is switched, but then also making sure trigger is boxed and then pushing the trigger once I have my target identified. And then switching back over to the left DDI when I'm ready to use my Maverick. Sometimes you need to uncage it using the C button after your target is designated for it to scan back and forth across your HUD and find that next target. Hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please subscribe. The more subscribers, the better. It lets me make more videos. And thanks for joining me today. Hope you to see in-game in DCS World. Fantastic game, tons of fun.